So Tom Brady and the New England Patriots went into Houston, and it's fair to say things didn't exactly go as planned. I mean, the Patriots were favored in that game, but things did not work out well. It ended up being a 6-point loss, but really the score made it look a lot closer than it actually was, as the Patriots scored a couple of touchdowns late in the game when the game was not over, but it was close to over. It did look to me, at least, that when they were scoring those touchdowns, especially the last one, Houston wasn't really trying as much as they probably should have, which that's a story for another day, but the reality is, I do think that the Patriots had a very disappointing performance against Houston. And there's a lot of things I could talk about. I mean, the defense gave up 4 touchdowns, when in the past they have been elite. The receivers are struggling to get open. The offensive line isn't blocking the way it has in years past. But in my opinion, I think that the biggest reason they lost this game was Tom Brady didn't play that well. And I know some people might look at his numbers and say he threw for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. Those are pretty good numbers, and they are pretty good numbers, but I do feel like Brady just didn't play at the level that he has to play at for the Patriots to win games. For one thing, yes, 326 yards is pretty good, but it was on 47 attempts, which is actually not that great in terms of yards per attempt. It's only 6.9 yards per attempt. Granted, Brady has never been a big yards per attempt guy, just in general, because of the way the Patriots run their offense, but either way, that is worth mentioning. But really, my main point is that Brady, to win football games with this New England Patriots roster, has to play really well, and when he doesn't play really well, they're going to lose football games. And this play is a good example of what I mean. It's going to be a zone coverage play for the Texans, and that's actually pretty good news for the Patriots because they have a great way to beat this type of coverage. They're going to have their 3 receivers on the bottom half of the screen run those 3 routes right there. So as you see, there's 2 receivers who are cutting a little bit shallower right around the goal line, which is going to force those 2 Texans who are playing zone in that area to make sure they're covering those 2 Patriots. And because of that, it could now clear out some space to allow the Patriot receiver running that route right there once he gets to that circle to be wide open potentially. That's the way this play is designed to work. Because as you see, right when this ball is snapped, if you take a look, I mean, in the middle of the field, the receiver that Brady would want to hit is definitely winning his own matchup right there. So there is going to be a window where Brady can make this throw, but again, not a huge window. There are Houston players in the middle of the field taking away another receiver, and so if Brady tries to hit his receiver deep, it's going to be a tough throw because there's just Texans in the area. However, this is the way this play is designed to work. Essentially, you want to throw it in a way where your receiver has to jump up to make the grab, and if he does make the grab, then it's a touchdown. If not, well then, no big deal. It falls incomplete. You would like to get the touchdown, but a field goal is no big deal. However, Brady just sort of throws this one away, which I don't really understand, to be honest, because he had a window where he could make that throw, and that was the way that play was designed. I mean, nothing happened right after the ball was snapped that would make you say, yeah, don't make that throw. That's what you wanted to have happen. If you're worried, just throw the ball a little bit too high, but he threw it way too high, he just threw it away. I don't agree with that decision right there, and for Brady to win football games with the Patriots, he is going to have to make those types of throws, in my opinion. Quite frankly, I'm usually not one to criticize the GOAT, but, he did. He messed up that throw there. I think that's fair to say. He probably made the wrong call on that one. Not a disastrous call, and of course, you have a split second to make these decisions, so it's a lot easier to sit up in here and say he should have made that throw or he shouldn't have made that throw, but at the end of the day, Brady usually is so good at making those decisions in an instant, so that's kind of why I hold him to a higher level than most quarterbacks. I should be very clear, Brady did not have a disastrous game by any means. He played fine, but I don't know if playing fine is good enough to win football games against good teams right now for the Patriots. I just don't know. Maybe it is, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not convinced yet is what I'm trying to say. Like, this next play was another bad throw. It's going to be man coverage, and his receiver is going to be running that route right there, so pre-snap, it makes a lot of sense to look in that direction. It seems like it's a route that could get open. It usually does, so Brady's doing the right thing by, once the ball is snapped, looking over and seeing if he is going to get open. However, at this point, there is clearly no separation, so this is just a throw that Brady shouldn't make. It's time to look for something else or throw the ball away. Those should be his options on this one. However, Brady just fires it in there anyways and throws an interception that was nearly a pick six. It's just a play that Brady shouldn't have made, and it's a play that Brady usually doesn't make, so it was a little bit head-scratching that he was making some questionable decisions. In my opinion, it's nothing really more than he just had a bad day, which is going to happen. Every quarterback in the NFL is going to have a bad day at some point. This was Brady's bad day. I do think that he played lower than he usually does play, in my opinion. I made a video talking about Drew Brees' bad day a couple of weeks ago against the Falcons. I do think it is fair to call out some of the better players in the NFL when they have a bad day and say, listen, he didn't play that well. I also should be clear in the sense that I'm not going to sit here and say the Patriots are screwed, it's over, no chance in them winning the Super Bowl. That would be silly. Of course, the Patriots have a great chance to win the Super Bowl. In my opinion, they're easily still maybe even a top 2 team that has a chance to win the Super Bowl just behind the Ravens. And you can still make the argument for them over the Ravens just because the way that they've always found a way to win come postseason time. I'm not counting the Patriots out whatsoever, but there is now a little bit less room for error that there has been in past seasons. Like last year, in the Super Bowl, Brady had a bad game, but it didn't matter. They were still able to pick up the victory. And this season, I'm not sure if they can get by with Brady not having a bad game, so he might have to have 3 good games in a row, which, of course, he has done before several times, but it's just a little bit more concerning, that's all. There's less room for error. Nothing to be frightened about, but just there is a little bit more concern than maybe you would have had in previous years. Granted, I feel like I say that every year, so who knows. But Brady did have some bad throws. I'm not going to say that he didn't. This one was another one. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and he has a receiver running an out route right there. And it's actually going to get open. I mean, as you see, the receiver gets to the outside of the defensive back who's in charge of not letting him get to the outside. So, good play there for New England, bad play for Houston. And now Brady has a window where he can make this throw. So, if he's the Brady we know and love, or know and hate, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, Brady should be able to make this throw. However, he's just going to miss it. He didn't miss it terribly, but that's one that Brady usually places a little bit easier, so that it's just an easier catch. He didn't on that one. So, again, nothing crazy. He wasn't being Nathan Peterman out there, but this is Brady on a bad day, no doubt about it. And it also totally wasn't just Brady. I'm giving him the most blame, but it was not just Brady whatsoever. I give him the most blame because I have the highest expectations for him than anybody else on that Patriots team, as I think he has earned. But I think that there was plenty of mistakes that were made, not just with Brady. And sometimes it was like with Brady, but I'll show you what I mean. It's going to be this play where it's going to be a cover 1 hole. And first, Brady's read is going to be that one, but it's not going to work out, as you can probably tell how it's going to be tough to work out on this type of play. I mean, after the ball is snapped, basically he's just going to run into a double team, so whatever, your first read didn't work out. That happens all the time. Not freaking out about that. Brady is also under pressure, but he's going to do a good job of stepping out of the pressure, and now he looks over to that New England player right there as he sees that potentially that receiver could get open. If you look at Brady is pointing deep as he sees the receiver looks back to him, and he's saying, just run deep at this point. You run deep, I can throw it deep. Who knows, maybe we could get a huge play out of this. Let's see if we can. But it looked like his receiver just didn't see it because he doesn't run that deep, and Brady ends up just throwing the ball wildly, so that was just not a great play. I don't know if you want to blame Brady, if you want to blame the coaching staff, or if you want to blame the receiver. You could honestly blame all of them if you wanted to, but either way, that's a play that they should make, and also it's a play that I think they will make come playoff time. Like, that's kind of my thing, is this Patriots team always seems to get better as the season goes on, so the fact that they're making mistakes like this, actually, I don't think it's that much of a negative. I think you can make the argument that that's a good thing. Well, I mean, obviously it would be better if they just weren't making mistakes at all and just blowing teams out 45-0, but if they are going to be losing games, you'd rather see them lose games like this, where they're making mistakes, where Brady has an off day where he misses some throws, where receivers can't get on the same page, because that should give you optimism for the future. If they were playing their best football and doing this, well, then you would have a problem. The fact that they're not playing their best football and losing, that makes some sense. There was also this play that I thought was interesting, where if you look at Brady before the ball is snapped, he's pointing out that Texan right there. And the reason for it is because, as you see, it's going to actually be the right guard who's going to want to make sure that he's blocking him if he does rush the passer. Houston's disguising well. The Patriots don't really know what they're going to do, so it's basically just going to be every offensive lineman has a guy that they're supposed to block if that guy does rush the passer, and if he doesn't, well, then you just find somebody to hit. So the right tackle is making sure that he's blocking the edge rusher in the top half of the screen, and then the other 4 Patriots are supposed to be blocking those 4 Texans if they do rush the passer. However, Houston's going to do something a little bit tricky here. They're going to have that player also rush the passer. So typically this now means that the guy who's in charge of picking him up would be the halfback. That's typically what you do in this situation. But he just doesn't pick it up. He runs his route instead, which allows a Texan to get straight through to Brady and make the tackle. Just not great football right there. It's what you don't want to see happen, and it's very unusual to see something like that happen with a New England Patriots team. It really is. But to me, that isn't that concerning, because I do think that in another month, these guys will be better at not making those little mistakes as much. I think that the Patriots team gets better as it goes along. They've kind of shuffled a lot of the players throughout the course of the season, so it has taken them a little bit to just figure out what's going on, but I do think that, when they make those blitz pickups and things of that nature, that's what's going to make them a better team. So if I'm a Patriots fan, pretty much everything I've showed you, I wouldn't be worried about. I would actually feel kind of a sense of relief in a sense, because, it's just the Patriots didn't play too well. And I don't want to take anything away from the Texans. I thought the Texans played really well, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think that the Patriots offense kind of just shot themselves in the foot more so than the Texans beating them, but Houston still played very well. They deserved to win, but at the same time, I do think that the Patriots can get a lot better. There's a lot more room for improvement. There's not a ton I am worried about, but there is one thing. I'm going to be fair here. I try to be fair. I feel like a lot of people about the Patriots either just unfairly criticize everything they do or unfairly praise everything they do. I always try to be fair when it comes to every team, but especially the Patriots. And I do think that there is one major problem that I am a little bit worried about, and that's their lack of receivers, and especially in the red zone, it's just not working out. Like on this 2-point conversion, that's going to be Brady's first read. He's going to have play action, and then he's going to look to that receiver right there. Could be a good route in this situation, so that's where he's going to look. However, after the ball is snapped, he just doesn't like what he sees. Maybe he could force it in there, but it would be a mailbox type throw, and he would rather see if he can find something else, so there's not much separation. He's going to look to something else. So then he moves over to his second read right over the middle, but that New England player isn't open either. I mean, he does have a little bit of inside leverage, but keep in mind there are 2 Texans who are also in that area, so firing it into triple coverage, probably not the best idea. So now Brady's going to have to find his third read on this one. And yep, you guessed it, he's not open either. There's just nobody open in this situation. Now granted, when Brady makes the throw, there was some contact. It could have been called pass interference. I might have actually called it pass interference, to be honest, but either way, nobody is getting open, and that's a problem for the Patriots. So that's the one thing I took away from this game that I'm like, yeah, that's something I would be concerned about. I mean, you can maybe say, well, their secondary didn't look as elite against the Texans, but I think even the best secondaries wouldn't look elite against the Texans' receiving core. I think that that's not something I'm terrified of, maybe a little bit concerned, but I do think that some of the mistakes will probably get cleaned up. I don't know if they're going to be able to clean up this situation. I don't know how good of a red zone team they will be, where in the past they've been an elite red zone team. I don't know how much they can get open consistently throughout the course of a game, and that could really hurt the Patriots. It really could. The loss of Rob Gronkowski, it's hurt them. I do feel like they really have struggled in trying to find a replacement for him. I thought that N'Keal Harry could be the guy, even though he's a receiver. He could still be a great red zone threat. That hasn't really worked out so far. I think that he's kind of just struggling to get his groove going. He's only played 2 games, so it's tough to get thrown into the fire like that. But I don't think this year he will really be able to be the guy that I think he will be once his career really gets going. I'm sure New England will figure something out, but it's tough to figure something out when really your entire receiving core is Julian Edelman at this point, and then some role players, which, listen, role players are great, but you would ideally like to have a guy who can just, one of those 6'5" guys you can throw up to in the end zone and can come down with a ball. They don't really have that. That's my biggest concern, I would say. So yeah, just to recap, I am not worried about the Patriots. I think that they will probably still get the number 2 seed. They will probably beat whoever ends up coming into Foxborough. And then against an AFC championship, if it is against the Ravens, that would be some problems. But I think the Ravens would give anybody some problems. So who knows what will happen, but I'm going to say I am not worried. But that's just my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching.